Welcome to Ecclesia Principles, a biblical strategy for believers to engage in God's design for government with Ray Eppard.
Hello, glad you could join us again today. If you would, we're going to look at Romans 13:1 again, the A section, which says, "Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities." Now with this, what we've been looking at is how the founding fathers protected everyone's unalienable rights. They did that through what they expressed in the Declaration of Independence, which is a founding document. It's not a legal document, but it is a founding document where, if you would, the vision of America was cast. And that's why it holds that place of importance in our society that it does. And then secondly, the Bill of Rights was a listing of the additional unalienable rights that we are to have. And so right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and then the 10 amendments to the Constitution list our rights. Now, with this, let every soul be subject to the governing authorities. You see, at this point, the founders knew, and this is really what we spent most of the time talking about yesterday, is that each person is accountable to God. I'm accountable to God for me. I'm not really accountable to God for other people. Now, I'm accountable to God for how I treat other people and how I interact with other people, but other people are accountable to God for their own decisions. I'm not. Now, if I fail to share some things that could help them, I'm accountable to God for that. But they stand before God for their own decisions. Each person is accountable to God directly. And so with that, again, especially that First Amendment, Congress shall make no law. It was restricting it. That amendment was telling Congress, you have to be subject to the governing authority of the unalienable rights that God has given individuals. Now, other amendments deal with families and different things like that. But that first one particularly dealt with that first jurisdiction of self-government. You have the right to choose your own faith. You're going to stand before God for that. You are accountable for that. They protected that government couldn't make you be a certain religion, but it couldn't prohibit you from practicing your religion. And again, let me just throw this out. That is freedom of religion, not freedom of worship. Because you'll hear more over time the reference of worship. What that is an attempt to get you to isolate the practice of your faith to your home and your place of worship. That is not what the Founding Fathers were talking about. The Founding Fathers in that amendment were saying that you had the right to choose your faith, and you had the right to practice that faith in all areas of your life. At home, in your place of worship, and in public. You had the right to do that. That's why it's not prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And we need to express that a little bit more and stop being, if you would, pushed around by the Establishment Clause. But with this, they were protecting that individual's self-government. They have a right to respond. Then they go on to free speech. Free speech. That I have the right to free speech in that. Now, with that, again, that is speech. Jesus said, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak. If you would, speech is an expression of my views, of my thoughts, and at that point, I have a right to have my views. I have a right to have my thoughts. And you see, so many in our culture today are being, quote, canceled. and free speech is being limited. Now, obviously, everything has to have some form of bounds on it, but speech just being offensive is not the boundary. Because when speech that is offensive is limited, then it'll eventually get down to there's a small group of people that will determine what's offensive, and anything they disagree with will be offensive. And the limiting of freedom of speech is the pathway to oppression. It's the pathway to losing all of our rights. God bless you. Join us again tomorrow.
You've been listening to Ecclesia Principles with Ray Eppard. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook on our Ray Eppard pages. This program was brought to you by Victory Worship Center and World Outreach. Services Sunday 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, 200 Hammond Lane, Stanton, Virginia.